What's the difference between a $1,000 and a $3,000 interface? Let's check them out. Here, I've got the Audient ID44, which is the interface I used for a very long time, and I just recently purchased the Metric Halo ULN-8 Mark IV. Now, while they're both incredible interfaces, you really do hear the 3 times price difference. I wrote a short little song to showcase the preamps on both of the interfaces on an acoustic guitar and a vocal, as well as the DI for an electric guitar. On top of that, I'm going to try my best to show the differences in the digital to audio, which is kind of hard to explain without being in the room to hear it, and there is a really major difference between these two. So with that, let's hop into how the preamps sound on both of these interfaces. For both of the interfaces, I tracked them through the same microphone, which is the Lewitt LCT 840, as well as did my best to gain match them, so that way there wouldn't be too many volume differences that would affect what you're hearing. So to start, let's take a listen at this acoustic riff I recorded on a resonator. We're gonna start with the Audient here, which sounds like this. And then next, we're gonna take a listen to the Metric Halo interface. Now I'm going to switch between the two interfaces here. So this one is the Metric Halo and this one is the Audient. So to me, what I really hear in this acoustic guitar shootout is there's a decent bit more top end and a lot more like nice sheen on the Metric Halo interface compared to the Audient. Now, while the Audient does still sound really good, it does build up a little bit in the low mids, but I think overall you're getting a cleaner sound out of the ULN than the Audient interface. Next, I'm gonna go through some of the vocal takes I had. Part of this is soft and part of this I have a little more energy. So here's the vocal through the Audient interface first. Not a second too late. Yeah, I could see it on your face. You wanted out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna. And then next, I'm gonna listen to the Metric Halo interface's vocals. Not a second too late. Yeah, I could see it on your face. You wanted out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna. Let's check it out one by one. I'm gonna do the same thing. You can see the ULN up here and the Audient down here. And I'm just gonna cycle between each one as they play. Not a second too late. Yeah, I could see it on your face. You wanted out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna. So something that I find interesting is that the ULN keeps the tone a little more consistent between the softer singing and the higher singing, whereas in the Audient, there's a pretty strong difference in the tonal quality, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I actually kind of like what happens to the tone as it gets more aggressive into the Audient interface. If you listen to this, I'm going to go soft right into a more energetic part. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own. It almost like gives it a little bit more of like a compressed feel just naturally versus the ULN. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own. Where the tone seems to be much more similar, whereas this has a lot more low end and low mid when I'm singing in that lower range, where in the ULN, there's not as much of that buildup and it seems a little more smooth and hi-fi. So lastly, I've got this electric guitar that I recorded through both of the interface's onboard DIs. Here is how the Metric Halo interface sounds. And here's the Audient. And again, you can kind of hear that the ULN is just a little more hi-fi, a little bit more sheen on the top. And the Audient has got a little bit of low-mid buildup. So if we take a listen to the ULN and the Audient and jump back and forth between them, you can hear that. The ULN just seems to get a lot more character out of it, even on the DI, compared to the Audient. So overall, you can hear that the ULN does have much better quality preamps. Not to say the Audient doesn't have good preamps, because they are really good preamps, but the ULN just has great preamps. There's a lot of sheen and a lot of character coming out of everything that goes into them, including the DI that is on board. And this is important because when you start putting more and more tracks on a song, all the character of what you're recording into is going to build up, which is why I'm going to play this raw first. I'm going to throw my amp sim on the electric guitar, and you can hear the difference in how everything builds up and stacks on each other as you record more and more tracks through this, and those tonal characteristics really start to build out the sound, which can make it easier or harder to mix. I want to show you the whole song unmixed through the ULN interface.
Not a second too late. Yeah, I can see it on your face. You want it out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own, while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna.
And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Audient interface.
Not a second too late. Yeah, I can see it on your face. You want it out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own, while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna.
So now I'll flip through the tracks as they play so you can hear how everything builds up, and you can really hear the tonal characteristics between the two different interfaces in their preamps.
Not a second too late. Yeah, I can see it on your face. You want it out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own, while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna.
And just straight unmixed like that, it's pretty clear that the ULN recordings are just going to be easier to mix and get to a good sounding spot. And they just sound cleaner overall. And they're not like stereo cleaner, more of the character of all the instruments and vocals that are going through it coming through. Whereas the Audient sounds good, but you can hear that there's a little more of that low buildup that you're going to have to take care of later. And just a little more raw sounding straight from preamp to DAW. Now I'm going to throw a little mix on everything as well, and you'll be able to hear the difference when it comes to a mix. And I have everything getting mixed the exact same way. I'm hitting all the compressors the same. I've got the same reverb, same EQs, so that way everything is as similar as possible going into it, minus the fact that it's going through two different interfaces. So here is the ULN with a mix.
Not a second too late. Yeah, I can see it on your face. You want it out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own, while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna.
And then the same thing with the Audient.
Not a second too late. Yeah, I can see it on your face. You want it out of this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own, while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna.
And then I'll play them back to back and switch between them so you can hear the differences side by side.
Not a second too late. Yeah, I can see it on your face. You want it out of this this place. Yeah, I could give you an escape. Long nights on your own while I wait for you to come home. Said I'll know if I know, but I don't think that I wanna.
So as you can hear again, the ULN with the same mix on it sounds a little more polished and a little more ready to go, whereas you could probably tweak the mix on the Audient one a little more to get rid of some more of the low end and add a little bit more energy and character overall. So you can kind of hear the differences between the preamps and how important that is to the audio that you're getting, and the ease you have to mix and how much less work you have to do to get it to a spot you want it to be if you've got higher quality going in. Regardless of just the preamps, which absolutely shine on the ULN, the digital to audio conversion is absolutely incredible on this thing. I did a whole unboxing video when I got it, but I didn't have a DB25 cable, and I wanted to make sure I tested the preamps as well as the D to A and all that stuff. But when I tell you, when I switched the speakers from the Audient to the Metric Halo interface for the first time, it blew me away. One of my friends was sitting on the couch in the back of my studio, and he gasped when I played audio from the Metric Halo interface for the first time. It truly sounds 3D. It is incredible listening to music through that thing. There's way more transient separation. There's more frequency separation. You can hear each individual thing, so it's easier to go in and find areas that are competing with each other and to make things stand out from each other. Now, one thing that I did do, which might not be the most scientific method necessarily to do this, I'm not a scientist, I'm just an audio engineer, is I went and recalibrated my room with my SonarWorks Sound ID. So, as you can see from my Sound ID here, I've got this MH1, which is my Metric Halo interface, and this one, which was my Audient interface. Now, this is both the same room, same speakers. You know, there's probably a little bit of human error, and as I said before, this might not be the most scientific way to go about this, but if you look, you'll see a lot less peaks on the Metric Halo one, and it's a flatter curve, which, you know, could be my human error of checking the room with the mic, could be like this, maybe a piece of furniture is in a little bit different place. But overall, you know, showing what I can't show you from listening and being in the room, this is kind of the best way that I could think of to show the differences between the D to A. But man, if you can get in a room and shoot out one of these Metric Halo interfaces versus another interface, it'll blow your mind. I read about it online, but it is truly 3D. You can hear everything so much clearer and so much more defined, and it's honestly just incredible listening to music on this thing. I'm spoiled. So in conclusion, the Audient ID44 is a good interface. Like, I used it for many years. It sounds good. I've had great sounding records with that interface, but this truly is just leagues above where the Audient is in terms of the inputs you're getting from the preamps, the output you're getting from the D to A. It is just truly an incredible sounding interface, including the D to A on the headphone preamps. The headphone preamps are better on the Metric Halo interface than the Audient. Now, you know, if you don't have the budget for a Metric Halo interface, the Audient is going to be a good one. It's going to be a really good, like, mid-tier starter interface that'll get you good sounding results. As you've seen, like, it didn't sound bad, but the Metric Halo, if you have the budget for it, is truly an incredible interface. It sounds great. It's modular, so you can add as many inputs and outputs that you want to it. You can upgrade it as they come up with new hardware, and it just sounds incredible. And you can clearly hear the difference between the $1,000 interface and the $3,000 interface. I'm glad that I could make a video that I would have wanted to see while I was researching interfaces, and to hear the difference between all of this. And hopefully it helps you a little bit if you're thinking about that, or if you're wanting to upgrade, if you're getting into it and want to just make sure you're starting off with the best possible equipment you can. I cannot praise the Metric Halo interface highly enough. I hope you got something from this video. Thanks for hanging out with me at Comfort Studios.